Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Wise Decision Maker Show, where we help you make the wisest and most profitable decisions. My name is Dr. Gleb Tsipursky. I'm the CEO of Disaster Avoidance Experts, the future of work consultancy that sponsors the Wise Decision Maker Show. And today I'm joined by Loretta. Loretta, can you please share about yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do?
Excellent. Thank you, Dr. Gleb. So I'm Loretta Li-Sevilla, and I lead future work and business incubation for Hewlett-Packard, the personal systems, commercial systems organization. And so what I do is I take a look at all the trends and insights that drive the future work, the changes that are happening in the workforce, in the demographics, how the workplace is changing, and how work itself is changing, and then look for new opportunities to solve future pain points.
Excellent. And I know you look both externally outside of HP and you're applying this within HP. So please tell me a little bit about what you're seeing in the realm of hybrid work, return to office dynamics, what you're seeing outside of HP, and how you're thinking about applying that within HP.
And actually, the past number of years, as you know, has been kind of an amazing transformation. And I've been looking at future work now for about 8 years,
Okay.
right? And a lot of what we've seen has just very much accelerated by at least 5 years in the past years. So this whole era of flexible work, the focus on employee at the center, the focus on experiences, AI coming into the forefront as well. So how does that actually augment human performance? So there's a lot of this that we've seen that have just accelerated in the past few years, especially around flexible work.
It has. And how has HP been applying that within itself internally to improve its own future of work dynamics?
So we actually have a cross-organizational effort on future work. We're calling future, kind of driving a future-ready workforce. And it includes, I'm actually in the business unit, but includes IT, facilities, HR, communications, marketing, everybody pretty much coming together, and it's centered around what do we do to drive the best employee experience and have people perform at their best and have sustained high performance. And a key part of this too is being able to listen to the employee base, be able to kind of experiment. And so rapidly kind of understand what would work, what doesn't, right? And be able to optimize and adjust. And so all of that kind of within HP's things that are doing as we kind of navigate kind of as a company to make sure that we have the best employee satisfaction.
So I want to talk about what lessons you learned from this listening and also learn a little bit about how you're applying that to the products that you create for your customers. Of course, that is impacting what you're doing externally. So share first a little bit about what lessons you learned from that listening. How have you done things differently as a result of it?
Yeah, and so kind of a key part of the listening is that need to determine like what's really important is not just having the space and the technology for people to come back to work, right? Because one of the things that we found as a foundation is that people need to be productive from no matter where they are. And they spent the past 3 years setting up their home environment. Like right now, I'm actually working from home and I'm going into the office later in the day. But we want to make sure that whatever they've optimized at home, they also are just as effective in the office. And then also when they go into the office, that they're able to collaborate easily, no matter where they are. So I don't feel like I have to come in the office to meet with others or to meet with teams that are in Houston, right? And so no matter where you go, that you can almost imagine that every meeting that you have is going to have at least one person remote. So how do you enable everybody to have a first-class citizen experience? And so the first part of what we saw, Dr. Gleb, is that we need to create an environment where everybody can feel that they can be productive and collaborative no matter where they are. But then the other piece of it too is it's not just the space and the technology. It was also people actually come to the office to meet other people. So it's the mindset, right? And actually we think about kind of people as the next asset, right? So people come to meet other people. right? That's a big driver of that. And so that the whole culture piece and what are the principles that apply at a company level, at a team level, are just as important.
That makes sense. I've helped by now 26 organizations figure out their future work dynamics. And it's pretty clear from working with these companies that the reason that people come to the office, the overwhelming the reason is to do collaborative activities, and that they're quite a bit more productive at their individual tasks working from home, whereas collaborative activities, especially more intense ones, are better done from the office. What are you finding in terms of that division between individual performance, whether it's writing reports, programming, and working on your email, video conference calls, your individual tasks versus collaborative tasks, whether it's group strategic conversations, decision-making, whether it's one-on-one conflict resolution, performance conversations, or maybe mentoring, on-the-job training, socializing and team bonding, kind of things that are best done, it seems to me, from my experience working with clients and their teams in the office. What are you finding yourself?
Yes, so we're also seeing the same, that in order to do focused, really heads down type of work, like having the privacy of doing that, but then also what we want to ensure too is that no matter where you choose to be able to collaborate, right? So there's a whole piece of the team piece. It's not realistic that everybody will be in person, right? Especially when we think about a lot of the enterprises, even for ourselves, we have teams that are spread all over the world.
Sure, distributed teams.
Exactly. And so those distributed teams, so how do you enable even the distributed teams to be just as collaborative and effective, especially around co-creating, feeling connected? And so that's why areas such as audio, video technology, unified communications becomes kind of the glue and the bridge to kind of help ensure that everybody has like collaboration equity, no matter where they choose to work. But it is true, like Dr. Gleb is, we see the office as a hub of building the sense of community, right? To have collaboration. And so over the pandemic, we actually redesigned our offices. And we used to have a lot of dedicated desks, individual spaces and things like that. We've actually changed that dynamic now so that we've optimized more for collaboration spaces, meeting rooms, and even huddle spaces where people can just jump in and be able to connect. And so so we've actually changed kind of the individual versus collaborative space design within the office.
Yeah, that's definitely something that a lot of my clients do, but something that we always have to overcome is pushback from employees who are reluctant to give up their individual spaces and move into a hoteling, desk sharing arrangements. What have you done to overcome such reluctance?
Yes, and we also had that initial resistance at the beginning too. And so what we found is that we needed to outfit every single one of our hot desks or shared desks with technology, similar technology that they may have had at home. So if you go to our Palo Alto offices, every single desk has either a big curved display or dual monitors, and with the webcam setup that they need. And so that way, and then we have that like a consistent kind of desk setup across all of our sites. So if I go to the Houston site, then I can easily get set up. And it's actually, the other piece too is that it's a one cable USB-C connect, right? And so with one cable, I can connect up my dual screens, everything set up, my webcam, and I get power, right? And so that's the same setup that I have at home. So we try to be very cognizant of, okay, how do we ensure that people are just as productive and they're not spending time, like, it used to take 10 minutes, right, to set up your hot desk to the way that you want it. Okay, are both of my monitors working? Is a webcam working? Is the speaker working? Is my headset working? And we had the same problem in a meeting room before too, where you go into the meeting room and just being able to share content takes a long time, right? And so now we've really looked at, okay, what are the technology and tools to enable that equal experience for everybody?
Yeah, that's really important. Now, when you're working with clients, a number of clients aren't thinking, I think, as clearly as they could be about this difference between individual work at home and collaborative work in the office. What are you advising clients? How are you supporting clients to shift their mindset to realize that that is the most effective modality for maximum productivity, for collaboration, for engagement?
For being able to do individual work at home and then collaborative work in the office. Is that
Yeah.
Yes. And so it's and one other thing I wanted to raise though, Dr. Gleb, too, is also based on personas, right? And based, so there's a piece of personas in terms of the job to be done,
Yep.
and in terms of how people's work maybe styles maybe. And so when we talk with customers, and we do this within ourselves too, if you have to evaluate your employee base and then decide, okay, maybe there's different types of personas, like you have the experts, like the specialists, and they may be the tech experts or the creative experts, like the engineering team. They have to be in the office, right? Because they might have hands-on work or things like that. But someone who is more of a what we call like a road warrior, maybe on kind of traveling quite a bit, like a sales rep, or somebody who might be a kind of typical, we call like office collaborator or remote collaborator, who's mostly a knowledge worker. And so for those may be more effective working hybrid. So it's not a one size fits all. So when we think about, you must be in the office to do collaborative work, you must be at home to do individual work, it really is dependent on the type of persona and then the work style for what is most effective for them, right? Because some people, I mean, you also have different kind of personal, differences. Like maybe somebody has kids that are at home, right? And then, okay, maybe for them, going to the office actually gives them the focused work time that they need. So there's all these other dynamics. And so what has been interesting since the pandemic is that it really has focused on the person and the persona and the individual unique needs versus a one size fits all that it was before. And then that also applies to the equipment, like what equipment, devices that you supply, what type of headsets and webcams.
That makes a lot of sense. What I usually do with my clients is I let teams make the decisions on what works best for them and then adjust things as needed, because teams generally know and they can accommodate these situations. Like you said, different roles, different personas, also different team members having different needs. So they can accommodate and adjust and balance these sorts of things. So pushing down the decision-making at the team level has been very effective. And I'm curious what you find in terms of who is making the decision and how the decision is made. Once I create a decision-making matrix for clients and give managers some training on this, but then managers work with a team to figure out, for the team to have a consensus process to figure out what it needs to do. I'm curious what you found in terms of the decision-making, that tactical decision-making that you're describing in terms of personas and roles and accommodations.
Exactly. So it happens at both levels, right? Because there's a company culture, right, that executive leadership wants to be able to drive. But a lot of it comes also from leadership behaviors, right? Because you want leadership to also be practicing the same principles that the teams do, right? And so there may be some things that happen at a higher level, being able to have events and kind of different principles or policies that happen at that level to create a kind of a broader culture that ties a company together. But then when it comes to kind of maybe some of the details, like, okay, how many days in the office should we come in? Okay, for my team, we come in Tuesday and Wednesday. I purposely put my staff meetings on Tuesday, and then do a lot of our kind of workshop work on Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, for example. And then I carve out, specifically, since my team is responsible for business incubation, there needs to be time where they can just sit down and have think time. And so then we block Tuesday afternoon, Friday afternoon. Okay, no meeting during those times. And so we do that as a team practice because of the job that my team needs to do. And so, and every other team has to evaluate that as well and figure out what works well, but then in the broader context of what we're trying to drive as a company culture. So maybe the company culture is, okay, we want a hybrid work, we want more flexibility, or company culture is, okay, we want people to be in the office more, or we want to, not have any offices and have everybody be remote, right? And so it's kind of both directions of trying to drive, what's most effective for the employee.
Yeah, the way I frame it for my clients is that it's having broad guidelines from the top and then having teams within those guidelines make the decisions for what works best. Now,
Exactly.
I'm curious, so we're talking about the technology. Can you describe the specific technology stack that you recommend for both the office and the home that folks can best use?
Yes. And so if we take a look at office first, right? We think about technology for individual productivity and technology for team productivity. And kind of a lot of what ties it together is audio video capabilities, right? So so if we think about video conferencing, how important all of that is. And so you think about spaces, right? And this is something that's not kind of as predominant 5 years back or 10 years back, is that you think about, okay, what do you need in the spaces that you go into? Whether it's you walk into a meeting, if you go into a meeting room or collaboration area, does it have the kind of the cameras, the speakers and mics, a unified communication platform? So if I do a Zoom meeting, so say if I actually took this call from a meeting room, could I get on easily with other people if we were to co-create, right? And so it's kind of what is the purpose of the meeting. So you think about spaces. Then the other piece is around individual. And so how do you ensure that the individual is just as productive? So ensuring that they have and it starts with, okay, what do you have from a device standpoint? What applications are need to run on that? Because maybe you need, if that type of role does a lot of co-creation, then you need to have co-create tools. You need to have the unified communication tools, right? Whether it's Zoom or Microsoft Teams or right. And then there might be certain applications that might be specific, like especially for the specialized worker. And then you've got all your productivity tools, and then you've got kind of your ecosystem as well. So your displays, the headset webcams, right? All the accessories, and then having like I had mentioned about the hot desk, ensuring that when you go to a hot desk, that you're instantly productive. I can just take one cable, connect in that PC, and I am up and running similar to what I have at home, right? And so that's kind of in the office. And then at home, and this is interesting because a few years ago as well, home wasn't really thought about of that you need to equip people to be productive, right? So most taking their laptop, come home, and then they're at the end of the day, they're just checking emails, just open the lid up, right? Now, gosh, the home has to be set up to be your work hub, just as your office was. And actually it's amazing, Dr. Gleb, that it happened overnight, right? So you saw all of a sudden, I remember in March, right?
March,
2020, the next Monday.
March 2020.
Right? We were saying, oh no, you can't go back into the office. And we had people who left stuff in the office and couldn't get their lunchbox or whatever. And so and now the home, like being able to have the environment, having the space, right? Having a kind of like for me, like I have a separate HyperX solo cast mic because I don't want to at home have a kind of wear a headset all day, right? It feels kind of heavy and so, but when I go in the office, I need that headset because I have a Savi Poly headset, so I don't interrupt anybody around me. And then the noise cancellation, right? So noise cancellation, kind of the AI capabilities, like being able to adjust my background, to be able to adjust my lighting, right? So it's all of that now, kind of that home that becomes just as important.
That makes sense. But thank you for that description. Now, as we finish up, what do you see as the future of work transformations? What kind of changes do you see happening in the next couple of years with everything that we've talked about?
Yeah. So when I think about future work, so increasingly it's going to be, all of the functions kind of working together, right? For a shared sense of purpose. So what we're seeing is that purpose is becoming really important, right? It's the employee and employer and that trust in the middle for a common shared purpose, and with all the functions, right? And then in terms of the experience, we're seeing that the experience is going to be much more contextual, seamless, because right now there's still a little bit of friction, right? When you go from place to place, right? Different types of gear, different types of devices, right? So it's kind of that seamless, contextual, being aware, being personalized, right? So having a kind of an assistant, like a personal assistant, that is like taking into account everything that that I need, and being able to augment some of my capabilities and be able to find things and maybe take a first cut at certain content that I might be creating, right? So and immersive, right? So immersive experience, so that it's not like just you and me on a screen. So maybe it's a kind of a little bit more kind of immersive, so we feel more connected. And so and the other thing too is that I think the future is also going to be circularity and sustainability will be important.
Okay.
So we think about like the whole net zero kind of footprint. So everything that we have, all the equipment, devices that we have, like how does that get reused, recycled, zero waste to landfill, because e-waste is the largest growing waste stream right now. And so how do we kind of leave the planet in a better place, right? And so I think sustainability and circularity will also be kind of key components.
Excellent. Thank you, Loretta. That was very helpful. Appreciate your time.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Gleb. Appreciate the opportunity.
And thank you to the audience for checking out another episode of the Wise Decision Maker Show. Please make sure to subscribe wherever you checked out the show and leave a review. It helps others discover the show, and it helps us improve the show.